Joining us now to talk about this, Cheryl Chumley, staff writer for the Washington Times and the author of the book Police State USA, How Orwell's Nightmare is Becoming Our Reality. Cheryl, it is so good to have you back on America's Forum.
It's great to be here, JD. Hello, Miranda.
Thanks for being here. As we visit with you this morning, the obvious question is this, Cheryl. Is Mr. Obama's plan really going to change anything?
Well, the fact that President Obama is taking it on himself to overreach into a local issue is something that Americans should be alarmed about. Policing is all about the civilian force. It's all about local government control. It's all about local police officers maintaining control in their local communities. The federal government should not be mandating anything onto local police departments.
Cheryl, do you think Obama's new plan will likely create more divide and hostility from law enforcement?
Well, definitely. How could it not? Right now, we already have in this country a problem with the militarization of police. Ferguson, unfortunately, should not have been the platform to discuss this. Ferguson has nothing to do with race relations between white police officers and black, suspects. It has much more to do with the politicizing of this issue, and it's an open door for the president to enact an agenda that he's been trying to push forward for a long time, specifically more diversity.
Cheryl, as we move from Ferguson back several months, Boston, and the case of the marathon bombing, there are those who make a case saying, look, the militarization of the police actually helped out in that situation. Presidential Press Secretary Josh Earnest says instead of scrapping the programs that offer military-type equipment, oversight and training really would provide the answer. Your reaction to Josh Earnest's observation?
Well, he's talking about the Pentagon 1033 program that's come under a lot of criticism in recent months, mostly because the equipment that police are using are alarming to see on the civilian streets of America, MRAPs, armored vehicles, and so forth. And when you say that the president is basically taking action now, bypassing Congress to issue an executive order to crack down on this trend of militarizing police, I don't really see how federalizing police forces is going to counter the problem of police acting in a militarized way. All it's going to be doing is setting up the opposite of federalized police force that is akin to the military.
Cheryl, not everyone is against the militarization of police. Listen to what law enforcement analyst Tom Fuentes had to say, and I want to get your reaction on the back end.
This whole argument about military equipment, we're the only country in the world that allows our public to carry assault rifles, armor-piercing shells, and wear body armor. So this idea, we have the most militarized public in the entire world, and oftentimes we need a militarized police to deal with it.
Cheryl, your thoughts?
I'm all for police having the proper equipment to fight, drug suspects who want to kill police. But the problem with the militarization of police is that oftentimes this equipment is used to serve no-knock warrants in the middle of the night on drug suspects who aren't even at home. If I can remind you of the case in Atlanta where that little toddler was blown up by police doing just that. That's when the discussion of militarized police should occur, not with Ferguson.
Cheryl, as we review this problem, a lot of us think back to the 2008 campaign when then Senator Obama, I believe it was in a speech in Colorado Springs, talked about having a civilian force, this is a paraphrase, every bit as powerful as our military. Now, militarization of police is one issue, but federalization of police or a type of domestic force is quite another. Is there any evidence that this president or others in Washington are moving to set up this kind of domestic federal force under the guise of law enforcement?
I'm glad you brought up that point, JD. That's an excellent point. If you go back in time to Obama's wish list of things he wanted to do as president, the simple answer to that is yes. What else is Obama's executive order except for a way for the federal government to control and oversee local police forces. It's basically setting up a federalized police force, and that, in my view, and I think in the view of the founding fathers, is akin to a militarized police force.
Cheryl, so what do you think needs to happen in the next few months?
Well, Ferguson is not about, it should not be treated as a problem of race where the federal government can come in and use it to justify controlling local police departments. All along, local police departments should be reviewing why indeed they need Pentagon 1033 militarized equipment. And police and locals should get together to discuss that point. But right now, I think America needs to fight back against President Obama's overreach and his abuse of executive authorities to control local police departments.
And with the minute that remains, Cheryl, is there anything specifically in this executive order, or is it written in such a way that if the goal is to nationalize a domestic type of military force, this particular executive order allows the president to do that?
Well, the fact that he is requesting $263 million from Congress to purchase 50,000 cameras for police officers around the nation to wear in itself is alarming, because why would that come from the federal government? That needs to be a localized issue. The fact that he wants Eric Holder to devise some sort of plan going into the future for local police department to account for their use of Pentagon 1033 gear, that's also a concern. That's something, again, that needs to be decided at the local level. When the federal government comes in and takes control, that becomes a federalized police force.
Point well taken, Cheryl Chumley. The name of the book again, Police State USA, How Orwell's Nightmare is Becoming Our Reality. Cheryl, again, we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So you heard what Cheryl has to say. Does that concern you? Why don't you tweet me your thoughts at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum. And America's Forum continues following this Newsmax Now update.